So I have over 400 videos on my channel, and oftentimes I struggle to make the intro. It's a big problem I have. So you know what, after a couple of attempts, I thought that I would outsource the solution to the problem. Opening shot of a mining operation with heavy machinery and dust flying everywhere. Welcome to the world of Gregtech New Horizons, where mining and industry meet to create a world of endless possibilities. Today we'll be diving into one of the most critical aspects of the game, ore processing. Cut to a shot of a large processing factory with ores moving along conveyor belts and machines humming in the background. In Gregtech New Horizons, ore processing is not a simple matter of breaking rocks and smelting metals. It's a complex multi-step process that involves a wide variety of machines, each with its own unique capabilities and requirements. Cut to a shot of a player character examining a machine. From the humble macerator to the mighty industrial grinder, players must carefully choose which machines to use in order to maximise their yields and maximise their energy usage. Cut to a shot of a player character adjusting their machine settings. But it's not just about the machines themselves. It's also about understanding the properties of the ores you're working with. Different ores require different processes to extract their valuable components, and players must use their knowledge and skill to determine the best course of action. So whether you're a seasoned industrialist or a newcomer to the world of Gregtech New Horizons, ore processing is an essential part of the journey. Join us as we explore the depths of the earth, unlocking secrets of the ores, and harness the power of industry to create a world of endless possibilities. Closing shot of a player character holding up a shiny ingot. This is Gregtech New Horizons. Welcome to the future of industry. Aha, thank you. So I hope that got the point across. Today we're going to be doing ore processing. I am really looking forward to setting this up, and with any luck, we can start to empty out these chests and get them processed. So as explained by our wonderful narrator, there is some specific ores which need proper filtering, and not everything has to be filtered at the same time, at the same stage of processing. We also have to make sure it's modular and expandable, and it could potentially get a little bit complex later on. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible, and we also want to design a system that is not going to bottleneck us in the future. Before we get technical though, I want to show you guys something. So you know how I said, and with this build we're going to make sure it works first before we start to add all the details? Well, I might have gotten a little bit carried away here. I was building all night here trying to prepare this room, and I think it came out awesome. Check this out. I am loving this build. The little bit of blue up there on the roof, mixed with the orange, best colours. And yeah, look at this. This is... I hear a zombie. Hey. I tried to keep in some of the same design elements we have around the rest of the base, including these concrete pillars. Having a really light ceiling gives you a feeling of space, which is going to be nice because there's going to be a lot of machines in here. And it could potentially end up feeling very claustrophobic once everything is in. But yeah, overall I'm really happy with this, and we have somewhere to set up ore processing. Oh yeah, and I even got down here, there's an extra staircase. This goes down underneath, and this is where all the filters are going to be. Yeah, I'm loving the feeling of being in here. And then of course we can extend this path along this way, and this will join up to whatever else we build on the opposite side. I think we should have most of the machines crafted for this. Most being the key word. I'm pretty sure we're going to be missing one or two things once we get started here. I did make the extra macerators. I made up some more cables, some more transformers. The one machine we are missing actually is the sifting machine, which we have right here. We are simply going to repurpose this one. Oh, our wrench is going to see some heavy use today. Yeah, something tells me this wrench is going to have to be charged a few times. And in fact, the wire cutters are going to be the same. So what we have here for machines is the thermal refinery, the industrial electrolyzer, a processing array which is going to contain the macerators, a centrifuge, simple washers, and an ore washing plant. And then of course the sifting machine which we just collected. If we take an example ore here though, like nickel ore, and we check the Gregtech ore diagram, the other two machine processes which we've not accounted for is the electromagnetic separator. We can forget about this, this is garbage. The other ways are much more efficient, and we've also not got a chemical bath. This one absolutely is worth it, for nickel specifically, for platinum metallic powder, but the chemical bath we are going to take care of last. There's also the fact that the ore washing plant can act as a chemical bath, as you can see on the tooltip. It can either be an ore washer, a simple washer, or a chemical bath. I believe you just hit with a screwdriver, but you can only do one machine process type at a time. So in essence, we're going to need a second one of these. Okay, so for a start, let's try to get the basic layout. And as we discussed, I want these to be in an appropriate position in the room, so that the ones we are likely to expand, like the macerator, is going to go on this side. Since we can knock out this wall, we can't exactly knock out this wall here, since there's things on the opposite side. So with that in mind, I think what we do is thermal refinery here, ore washer next to that here, and then industrial centrifuge on this side, electrolyzer next to that, here, processing array is this side, sifter is going to be in the corner. What does that leave us with? The simple washer? Yeah, the simple washer is going to go next to the staircase. It's not likely we're going to have to expand this one. And then also the chemical bath, which is, I guess, going to go in this corner. We're going to have a few spots left over, which will be for initial expansion. Let's see, are we missing anything here? I think I'm happy with this, right? Oh, these bats are going to... these bats. So once we had the positioning of the machines, I started to lay out all the essential components to get the multi-blocks to form. Input and output buses and hatches, energy hatches, mufflers, maintenance hatches, and casings. Aha, so we got all the machines built. I did move the centrifuge though from here to here. And underneath the machines, I also dug out a space for wiring. So we have a 5x3 area roughly. And then also this extra little gap underneath, which will be for the power cable. And you guys know me with the wiring tunnels, right? It has to be nice and pristine. But we are at Y4 down here. So bedrock is like right there, 3 blocks below us. But yeah, it actually works out perfectly here. Minus all these guys. So all the machines have been given EV energy hatches, and then we also have the input and output buses on the, well, they're all facing left. Left is input, right is output, if we're facing the machine, so it's the opposite on this side. I also tried to make their buses at least MV or HV, just to give us a bigger buffer on the input and output side, since these will run more than one recipe at a time. That's really the main benefit to all these machines over the single blocks. For example, you can see here on the centrifuge that it's 125% faster than using single blocks of the same voltage, and it only uses 90% of the EU per tick normally required, processes 6 items per voltage tier. So we're running this at EV, and I believe per voltage tier, well, the baseline is going to be depending on the recipe. So if we take our example over here, nickel, and we look at the impure pile, this has to go through a centrifuge. The base recipe is ULV, so at ULV it's 6 items, LV it's 12 items, MV 24, HV 48. Wait, that can't be right. It doesn't double, it adds 6. It's it's linear, yeah. But the same applies for the ore washing plant, for example. This one is 400% faster than the single blocks of the same voltage. And the thermal refinery is 150% faster, and only uses 80% of the normal EU. So I hope now you can see why I wanted to get the GT++ machines. They are definitely worth it to save on power and also processing speed. So speaking of power, that is actually the next order of business. We have to get EV power to all these machines, and right now we're running LUV power from the power spine. So we have to go LUV down to IV and then IV down to EV. So what we're going to do here is run this power cable through this column and hopefully be able to come out at the bottom here. I'm going to have to remove this lamp. Oh no, that means we have to remove the lamps in the middle as well. I don't know if there's another way to power this without messing up the aesthetics. Okay, you know what? Actually, we're going to go through here. Instead of going under the bridge... Yeah, instead of going under the bridge, we're just going to make a wiring tunnel, and we should appear next to where the turbine service hatch is. Oh yeah, this is perfect. We can actually go straight down this service tunnel, which is what it was built for. I'm not going to connect the cables together yet, though, until we verify everything. We want to be working with cables that are not live. Yeah, this will work out much better for us, I believe. Oh, mistakes were made. We need some new wire cutters. I think these things are only mining speed 3. Oh, this is... Okay, perfect. I moved the cable over to the right-hand side, cleaned up the wiring tunnel. We are also going to have glass cable through here to run applied energistics. As I've touched on briefly, we are going to have multiple networks for ore processing, but we still need a connection to the main AE system. You feel vaguely nervous? Yes, thank you, Thlumcraft. I do a little bit, connecting all these cables together. And yeah, like I mentioned, we're going to keep this one disconnected. So now we're going to need several transformers, 2 of which I've crafted, but I realized it's actually the wrong one. We are going to have an EV high amp transformer. Yeah, we were missing some aluminium cable. EV high amp transformer, and then also an insane voltage LUV to IV. This is the regular one. So green is LUV, we're going to go LUV to IV here, facing the opposite way. Big dot is the input when you're transforming down. So we have IV coming out of here, that's going to go transform to EV now. But this is the high amp transformer, so we're given 4 amps of IV into 16 amps of EV. Since remember, it's always a 1 to 4 conversion between every tier. So now we have 16 amps of EV to work with, and EV is what we need to feed all the machines. And as we know in Gregtech, the energy hatches for every tier can accept a maximum of 2 amps, but they don't necessarily need 2 amps. We are going to give them the capability to receive 2 amps in case they need it. But all the machines in Gregtech, bar none, I think. Yeah, every machine just depends on what recipe you're running. That is the ultimate determining factor on how much power a machine will need. So we are going to run 16 amp cable. Very expensive for aluminium, but I'd rather make sure these don't burn. And you know what? In theory, we could get away with 2x cable down here, which I think we might do. I don't think we're that rich on aluminium yet. Yeah, we'll go 16x down the middle. Oh wait, I have almost a stack of 4x. Yeah, we can do 4x. And we can do this because the amps are requested by the machines. They are not sent through the battery buffer or through the transformer. So because there's nothing else here requesting amps other than the energy hatch here, the maximum allowed on this cable is 2 amps, or the maximum that will be sent on this cable is 2 amps. I might honestly add an 8x cable just so we can avoid this, but it should still work regardless. Now it's just a matter of plugging everything in and not getting trapped in your own. And just double checking our cable colors, EV is pink, so all of this cable has to be pink. Perfect, so everything should now have power besides these simple washers, which are actually MV machines, so we have to do one more transformation at the bottom. Let's do it right here. So we have to go EV to HV here. Is that connected? Yes, it is. Okay, so we're going EV to HV and then HV to MV. It's that famous line again. I don't know how many of you guys have seen that, but yeah, not my proudest moment. Let's not repeat that here though. EV to HV. HV to MV, yes. Yeah, so EV to HV, HV to MV, MV to machine. This is going to go on 4x annealed copper cable, like so. And this one is orange, I believe. Yep, all these cables will be orange. Okay, so now everything should have power. This is looking awesome, I like it. It's so clean. No spaghetti here, no... Alright, so do we want to try to plug this in? That should make the cable live. Let's get our scanner out and just make sure. If we hear an explosion, I'm going to be so sad. I did not mean to play, I meant to scan it. Yeah, no explosions. The cable did burn though, but that's fine. That was my own mistake. Okay, so there is LUV power going through here. You can see 32,726. That's due to some cable loss. 768 is the maximum, but there's some cable loss between the battery buffer and this length of cable. And then now we should see this is being powered. The internal buffer is full. This one is also powered. And this cable has, yeah, 2000 EU, roughly. And by the time it gets to the bottom, we actually lose some power, so we're at 2015 out of 2048. I'm hoping that's not going to be an issue by the time it reaches all the energy hatches. Like here is only 2005. But again, it depends on the recipe we're running. And most of the recipes don't require a full amp. Actually, that's not the case for the thermal centrifuge. That might be an issue here. We will see, we will see. We may have to move this closer to the transformer because of cable loss. For now though, let's move on to the filtering stage. And there's some concepts I think it would be helpful to understand. So what you're looking at here is a visual representation of the ore processing system, which has been significantly simplified. I mean, okay, it might not look very simple right now, but it's very easy to understand, I think. So instead of the full multi-blocks, I've just represented each stage with the multi-block controller. So chemical bath, which we've not built, macerator, which is actually swapped out with the PA in our main world, ore washer, thermal centrifuge, sifting machine, simple washer, centrifuge, overflow. Anything that has not been filtered will be sent to an overflow chest. And then outbound is everything that comes out of the machines and is processed, ready to be stored. And then of course we've got the storage system for all the processed material. Brought to you by our wonderful narrator. Oh, that little part on the intro was funny. I wasn't sure whether or not to keep it, but I went with it. Anyway, so the basics of the system is going to be using storage buses and also interfaces. So when we really boil it down, it looks something like this. This is the most simplified version, with the ender chest being the input to the system, so anything we want to process will be sent here. Ideally, it's going to be an ender chest, and this will be connected to the output of the miner, or pretty much anything we want to go through the system will be insert here, goes into a chest buffer, which is just a fancy item pipe with a little bit of a buffer, and we can put a conveyor on the insertion here to pull items from the chest into the buffer, and the buffer will automatically send it to the interface. Then these two devices, and the first interface here and the storage bus, is going to be its own separated little AE network, and its only job is to move the items from the chest buffer into the appropriate location, or in other words, into the appropriate machine. And once it has somewhere to go, it's going to send it into another interface, and this will be a separated network from this one. Then it will go into another piece of smart cable, and then into the input bus of the machine, using another storage bus. So it's going to be separated twice. The other small thing to mention about the interface is that it will always try to empty its contents in these slots. And because we have the storage bus on there, that's an available inventory for it to be sent to. Then that happens once again into the storage bus. So this one is going to be unfiltered, completely unfiltered. But this one, we want to make sure it is filtered to only allow specific items into the input bus. So the great thing about the storage bus is it has a huge capacity of filters. Meaning that, let's say if we want to allow crushed aqua crystals, for example, like this is an ore washer, we want to wash aqua crystals. That means whenever we put aqua crystals in here, only those can be sent to the storage bus, because this has now got a whitelist on it. And if we put in anything else, it's just going to sit here because it has no available storage bus to be sent to. And then from this one, it's going to be sent to the input bus. The other cool thing about the storage bus is it can accept the ore dictionary filter card. So with this, we can specify a specific ore dictionary tag that is put on every item. For example, ore wildcard, that's what the star is. So basically anything matching ore. And that corresponds to the NEI ore dictionary tag. So if you search with hashtag, you can see there on the prefix underneath applied energistics, it says ore certus quartz. And this has the ore tag, which is going to be obeyed by this wildcard. So anything with ore, if we were to put that certus quartz ore, it would be allowed to be filtered into this filter. We can also specify things like not oil sands, which is what the exclamation point is for. This is the inverted version of this one. So it's any ore and not ore, which is oil sands. So if we put oil sands, because there's multiple different types, I think only one shows in NEI. But yeah, there is like the marble, the red granite, the basalt variant. And this is the only exception to the only ore in the game, I believe, which cannot be pulverized. It has to go through the centrifuge since there's a fluid output. So any ore except for oil sands we want to go into the macerator. But like I mentioned, not every type has to be sent into the same type of machine. For example, not every crushed ore has to be washed. Some of it we want to macerate again. So all the crushed ores can either be washed, it can be thermal centrifuged, or it can be macerated and then centrifuged again. In fact, it could also be sent into the chemical bath, which is what's going to happen with meteoric iron. But the specifics on the items which we want to send where is we're going to talk about later on. Now that we understand the concepts of how items are going to be moved, let's now implement this into the main world.
I wish you could be high.
Oh my goodness, guys, this looks absolutely crazy. Tell me this is not the best thing you've ever seen. Look at this. This is awesome. Look at this. All the different color. I did have to move this power cable down one block to accommodate it all, but yeah, check this out. Oh, this is so cool. It turned out awesome. Now, I don't know if it works yet. We haven't actually tested the functionality, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work, right? And this room in here looks the best. Look at this. Look how awesome this looks. So all of these ones are actually fake controllers. This is Futura blocks. This one here is the only real ME controller. The rest are all fakes. But yeah, the rest of the devices, the AE interfaces and the storage buses, they're all real, of course. And then every channel that you see is a different network. So they're all separated, but they're all powered off of the same power source, which is actually the main network. And our main applied energistics network, as of many episodes ago by now, is actually powered using the Dragon Egg here. And this has been plugged in for quite some time. The energy cells seem to be holding up all right, so I think we have enough power to power all the devices that we need. So our main network, I'm falling all over the place here. The main network comes from this cable here, this glass cable, which follows the power cable through this tunnel that we built today. And then it actually goes up here, and then it's converted to red cable. Basically, all the red cable in our base is going to be the main network, as is the case up here with our terminals. This is all on red cable. So I wanted that to be consistent even in the new areas. So the red cable here follows the power cable down at the bottom. And this has a piece of quartz fiber. Now remember, the quartz fiber will transfer power and not channels. So the quartz fiber powers the black network, which is the outbound of the items. It's actually also the insertion of the items into the machines. I'll show you what I mean in a second. But yeah, the red powers the black network, and red follows all the way along here. And check this out as well. Oh yeah. Even complete with our own secret doorway into the maintenance tunnel. And we have a little ladder up here. This we're going to expand later on today as well. But this terminal is red, corresponding to the main terminal that we have, which exists up there. And we can see all of our main applied energistics items in here. And then if we follow the black cable along again, so the black cable joins all the output buses, or it will, on the right hand side of the machines. Remember, left is input, right is output. So the right hand sides of all the machines join the black cable. And this also joins the insertion side, where we saw the input chest. This is the input chest, into chest buffer, into interface. And then because the black network is powered, the black network also has quartz fiber here, and that powers all the colored networks. So again, we're passing power through this point right here on all of the connections. And that is how we're giving power to all of the AE systems in the base. Oh, this is so exciting. I can't hold in my smile here. But we have to remain productive. So I did swap a few things around. We have brown for the sifting machine. It's basically inverted, so the closest one here matches up with the closest one here. So it goes sifting machine, which is there. Then simple washer is next, and that is light blue. Chemical bath is yellow, that's the one in the middle. Purple is the electrolyzer. Green is going to be a second centrifuge. We haven't built it yet, but we're going to make another one of these here. On the end is an overflow, which is just going into a chest for now. This is so that we can manually see what we haven't filtered yet, which for now is everything. We still have to do all the filtering. And then opposite this, we have the black network, which is the outbound. This one here is just blank. This is the cyan, which goes to the space on the back side over there. I have maybe an idea of what we're going to fill that with, but for now that leads nowhere. Then we have lime as the centrifuge, the one in the middle. Next is the macerator on orange. That is for the PA. The ore washer is blue, and then the thermal centrifuge is pink here. So I believe all we have to do now is, I just crafted the last of the storage buses, which goes on the input bus. So this is that second storage bus that we seen in the example. PA, orange, that looks so cool. And then centrifuge. Actually, I might have not crafted enough here. Purple is the electrolyzer. Oh yeah, we're one short. Okay, you know what? What we're going to do is disconnect the electrolyzer. And we're going to plug in the simple washer, since we need those first. And the simple washer is just going to go into a chest, actually, since we have to distribute it between two single blocks. So for now, we're going to have a little buffer chest here. Okay, so now the question is, how do we want to split up the items? How do we distribute the items and make sure they go to where they need to be? Well, we are going to take a shortcut here. So most of the hard work is actually done in Season 1 of this playthrough, which is where we are right now. And this was the old ore processing system, in case you guys haven't seen this thing. It's a mess. And it's terrible. Nowhere near as awesome as the new one, right? But most of the filters are actually set here. They're set up in a little bit of a different way, which is not really important. We're not using this method anyway, so it's not worth really going over. But I have actually copied them over to these filters. So we will start with what's here and we'll adjust as necessary. But I do want to go over my thought processes for why we choose to process things in the way we do. First though, let me copy these over to the main world. So, like for example, the chemical bath is crushed sheldonite, crushed meteoric iron, platinum, and nickel. I believe the NEI bookmarks actually persist through worlds. Like, I didn't pin these in this world, so I think we can use this to our advantage, right? We can pin these and then put the ore washer after this, which is here. If we separate this with the ore washer, then the macerator, this is where it takes the ore dictionary filter. So we want all ore, not oil sands, and also all crushed centrifuged, which is all of these piles here. This is everything that's been thermally centrifuged. Yeah, once it's been thermally centrifuged, the only thing you can do is pulverize or forge hammer. And the forge hammer might be what the extra space is. The one that doesn't have any connection in the main world. We might put a forge hammer there. But yeah, other than the ores dictionary card, we also have this storage bus. So purified pitch blend, graphite, orichalcum, green, whatever this is. There's a lot of things which we've not even touched yet, like rare earth 3. We're still going to include it in the filters though, because we will eventually come across that. Things like mitral, Callisto ice, these are I think tier 4 materials. But yeah, we're going to pin all this and then separate it by the processing array. Here, I guess it would be. So I continue to go through all the filters, pinning them all into NEI, and then copying those over to the relevant filters and storage buses in our main LP world. Oh yeah, that was tedious. That was tedious. I'm not expecting to get all of these correct the first time. No doubt there will be some mistakes in here and things we have to change over time. I think it would be useful to go through my thought process though, in case you guys are also in a similar situation setting up ore processing. So I mentioned last episode about some very essential items that we want to filter out at specific stages of processing. And those are purified sphalerite, purified galena, purified tetrahedrite, purified pentlantite, chalcopyrite, crushed bastnasite, and crushed monazite. So these we are immediately going to set on the outbound, and those exist nowhere else. So if any of those 5, 6, 7 items get placed in this chest, or come out of the machines, it will end up in the outbound and be sent to storage. So all of those will be added to this storage bus here. But we have to make sure they actually get to this format, right? So we can never ever get a purified piece of galena ore from the world, unless we have it lying around in our storage system when we add it into the chest. We're not just going to find one of those things, right? We have to actually wash it to make it purified. Crushed monazite. It's so frustrating that these pins move around. I think they changed it in the newest version. They've edited it so you have to press shift to actually move them around, but whenever you drag to filters, it actually messes up the order here. And so no doubt some of the numbers are wrong. Some of the filters are wrong here, but you know. The most common thing we're going to get from a miner is the crushed variant of the ore. Yep, checking any of these chests, we are most likely going to get a crushed variant, i.e. crushed lazurite, crushed sodalite, since at least the multi-block miners will automatically pulverize ores. The point I'm trying to make is we don't ever get a purified pile. You know what, let's grab one of these chests. This one. This one, we'll grab this one. So let's take for example lepidolite. I don't remember setting the filter for this. So if we put it in here, it's either going to, if we haven't got it filtered, it's going to go to outbound. Otherwise, it's going to sit in here because... Wait. Oh, there we go. It just took a while because of the conveyor. Okay, so where did the lepidolite go? It didn't end up in overflow. That means we have it in a filter somewhere. But which one is the question? Aha, went to the simple washer. Okay, so the item distribution does work, assuming we got the filter set correctly. So if we look at crushed lepidolite, for example, if we macerate and macerate again, we get a chance at lithium dust. If we ore wash and then thermal centrifuge, or even just thermal centrifuge, you can either go thermal centrifuge like this, or you can ore wash and then thermal centrifuge if you want this byproduct and also this byproduct. But it looks like here we have a choice between either a lithium byproduct or a chance at cesium. Cesium, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but there's basically no use for this, right? There's super fuel binder, plutonium-based liquid fuel. I don't think we need this. And if it wasn't already obvious, there's a lot of garbage and clutter in NEI and GTNH. So learning to navigate NEI is it takes some practice, and I still don't know what all the materials do. Like, for example, like this, I don't know exactly what the best option is. I'm gonna guess it's lithium, in which case we actually want to macerate this for the chance at lithium. So we're gonna take it out of the ore washer one, the simple washer. All we have to do is find it here. Let's pin it again, take it out of the filter, and move it into the macerator. And then where is it going to end up from there? Once it gets macerated, it's going to turn into an impure pile and potentially lithium. All of the impures, no matter what, there's a few minor exceptions here. It looks like we got a mixer recipe with specifically the impure pile lepidolite, but as far as I know, we don't need this. This is useless. Yeah, it's used to make alumina. This is useless. We can forget about that. There's always a few edge cases, but all of the impures we want to send into a centrifuge. So to handle that, we've got another ore dictionary filter on the centrifuge, and this will handle all of the impure and also all of the pure piles. Macerating twice gives you an impure, but washing then macerating gives you a pure. And the only thing you can normally do with the pure pile is just centrifuge it. Both of these steps are centrifuge steps, which is why we just use the ore dictionary filter, and that saves us having to filter specific items. So now I'm going to spend a few hours filtering all the items, making sure everything goes to the correct place. But before that, I actually want to test out some of these machines. Let's do maintenance on a lot of these. I don't know why I put the maintenance hatch in the back, but I guess because of the texture on this one. Okay, so all of these should now... this one still needs maintenance. Ore washing plant is fine. This actually has to fill with water, but it should fill with water on its own, from what I understand, when it's running. So underneath this thing, we have a reservoir pointing into an input hatch. And that has like an IV pump or something. EV pump, which permanently keeps the input hatch full of water. And actually thinking about it, we also need water in these simple washers. So I have another reservoir crafted and 2 more pumps. Yeah, we can put it in the middle here and put a pump on each machine. And that should keep them full of water. Hopefully the HV pumps are fast enough. We also need to handle item distribution here. For now, I'm just going to use a conduit. I have no idea if this is going to be fast enough. But yeah, the long-term plan for this is to turn it into an ore washing plant once we have the resources. So for now, we're just going to round robin on brown channel, and then extract on blue. Insert brown, extract blue, and that's going to go back into an interface. And the interface is on the black network. The original plan was to put everything into interfaces. All of the output buses, I mean. Take that, bat. Oh, these bats have been annoying me all day. The original plan was to put an interface here. However, I was recommended something called the ME output bus. I have it pinned. An HV output bus, an interface, and 4 acceleration cards. Do we have any of those? Yes, I assume from loot bags. I know that we don't have HV output buses though. I'm going to have to make a few of those. ME buses are a combination of technology and other technology. With these, you can now directly I/O between Gregtech multi-block and the ME network. They have significantly less lag, so please start using them as soon as possible. Sure thing, Greg. There's the first one. And a request. I believe it actually gives us one for free as well, yes. So the thing about these is you can actually hit... Is it the screwdriver? Oh, it looks like it's the... Yeah, we want this option. ME output bus will infinitely cache items until you connect it to AE. So pretty much what that means is it has an infinite buffer if it's offline. So if for whatever reason the network goes down, it's going to continue to buffer items in its internal buffer slot. Even though it doesn't have a GUI, we can't open this thing. The block itself remembers the item that it's holding until it's then connected to a applied energistic system. In this case for us, the black network. and then that will inject it into anywhere it can go. For us right now though, that is only the overflow chest. That is the only available storage location on the network, on the black network, which actually should be at a lower priority, because this is not a filtered destination. We are going to have to go through and filter all of the outbound items, since as we saw earlier with the lepidolite, we want that to actually go to a macerator. So it can't just go to one machine and then be sent to storage, the outbound. It has to go to a washer, then a macerator, then a centrifuge. Okay, let's swap in all the output buses, and they should be on the infinite cache mode by default. Yeah, it looks like they are. Alright, all the output buses should now be set. There's also one more thing, and that is the machine controller. Machine controller cover. Enabled with redstone and safe mode. This only actually applies to the processing array though, since this is a Gregtech multi-block. The rest are GT++ multi-blocks. And the reason that is important is because the GT++ multi-blocks will actually we're going to put this up to, no, 24, inverted. Oh, you know what? I don't know how it behaves with the output bus, the ME output bus that we just added. I'm not sure how that interaction is going to play out for the purposes of the item detector cover. But all of the GT++ multi-blocks will stop if their output bus is full. That's not the same as the regular GT machines. So we do not have to have item detector covers on the output of these ones. These are the only ones that's going to break our rule of redstone on machine on. We're going to have disable with redstone here and safe mode. So the only reason we need the machine controller is for safe mode. If we run out of power, we don't want this thing to keep chewing up the inputs and voiding it. This one will also get a machine controller, disable with redstone, safe mode, and also the sifter. Oh, and look at that. It did fill. Yeah, it did fill with water. Nice. Nice, okay. Okay, so now let's throw in the first, I don't know, yeah, let's keep doing lepidolite. So this should be sent to the simple washer. Right? I think I only have like an MV, yeah, I only have an MV conveyor on there. I'll have to switch that out. So this should now be in the washer. It might have already finished. Where on earth did that go? Oh, that's right, we changed it to this one, right? It should be, that's right, we changed it to the macerator. And the macerator actually needs machines, right? So as we talked about last episode, we're going to place in 64 LV macerators. So this will do 64 recipes in parallel. And one little quirk with the processing array, it will actually give you the extra byproducts as if it's an HV macerator, right? So normally in any pulverization recipe, there's a chance output. This normally, in single blocks anyway, this only applies at HV tier or above. That rule is ignored whenever it's in the processing array, although this thing is not starting anymore. Or at all. I guess we need a piece of red alloy. Ah, you know what? Either that or we move the output bus to the middle. That could also work. That way it sends its signal directly into the controller. Alright, so I did see that on for a brief second. That means we should see it in overflow now, right? We see lithium. We want to add that to the outbound. Since this is a finished product, we're definitely going to have to add way more storage buses to the outbound. And the impure should be in the centrifuge, isn't it? Yes, it is, but the centrifuge is not on. For some reason. Okay, there is power in the cable. There is power in the energy hatch. There is items in the input. We do have somewhere for it to go. We have an output bus. Do we need to soft mallet it? Why doesn't this run? Are we missing something here? It doesn't need a circuit number, right? No. It's ULV recipe. I am genuinely confused why this isn't turning on. Aha, we got it. Okay, so the issue was it's slightly broken in this version. The output buses, that is, and Gregtech++ multi-blocks. So you have to enable void excess. From what I'm told, it doesn't actually void excess because we're using an ME output bus. But yeah, we just have to hit with the soldering iron. Let's try this one more time with lepidolite. So we see it in the macerator. We should see this turn on in a second. Oh, this is a 20-second recipe. Yeah, there's going to be bottlenecks all over the place. And the ratios are going to be off. We should see this turn on now. Right? Yes! Yes! It turned on. Okay, perfect. And all of that should have been sent to out overflow. Yes, ideal. Oh, the lithium as well, though. No, that is what we want. Yeah, because the other interaction I didn't mention before is that an interface will not accept items if it doesn't have anywhere to go. So because this interface is connected to nothing, there's just quartz fiber to give it power. The storage bus doesn't see that as a valid location. We are going to have to set up outbound storage. And also add lepidolite here.
someone to rely on. Now I'm a screw up, but baby, I'm glad you're someone to rely on. Someone to rely on. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I could be someone to rely on. 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 Someone to rely on.
Well guys, mission accomplished. The chests have been moved. You guys are like, how much time has it been? How good is this ore processing system to have cleared all of those chests? No, they're not actually cleared, somewhat unsurprisingly. For now, they're just in another part of the base, but I do want these things gone in the next few days. Possibly on livestream. I did manage to clear one of them though, which is this chest here. It's now being used as a buffer for the chemical baths, since those are not built yet, but there's going to be some slightly different processes for those. You might have also spotted this over here, which is outbound storage on white network. So this is from this interface here, everything that we want to store, everything that's already been processed. I did say we were going to put it all on mainnet, but the reason for separating it out into subnets, you guys actually convinced me. It's going to make it much easier whenever we set up the centrifuge and electrolyzer, since these two steps right here are going to be for technically already processed dusts. We have some of them in here, I assume. Yeah, things like spodumene. Pretty much the only use for spodumene is to electrolyze. So we're going to have to pull from this system here, and instead of pulling from mainnet, we're going to pull from the white network and send that into the electrolyzer. It's also just easier and nice to have the storage on site here at ore processing. So in short, the way this works is we have a white connection connected to this interface, and the white connection is followed by this cable that goes up to the terminal up front to display all the items, and also goes to the disk drives. We have some 16K item storage cells, and then there's one more connection up at the top here. We have some ladders. I don't know why I put all this effort into this behind the scenes thing, like, you're never gonna see this thing, but yeah. I like to make sure it's all nice and built. It gives it a much more polished feel, I think. So yeah, we also have a storage bus on a drawer controller, and this is for things like stone dust and netherrack dust. We don't necessarily want to avoid them. We're going to store as much as we can, but if we happen to overflow, we want to make sure we do avoid them and not fill up the drives. So yeah, there'll be a few more dusts like that, potentially things like sulfur eventually, whenever we end up with way too much of it. That way it still gives us access via the system, we can still see all the stone dust, but we don't have to worry about the drives filling up with garbage, basically. Whenever I was designing this thing, well, it was many weeks ago by now, actually, there was this one flaw I didn't know how to get around, and I still didn't know up until yesterday, and I think I might have actually figured it out, and I'm so glad I managed to resolve it because it was a huge unknown, and now that it's resolved, this is like the perfect system. Also, I'm aware of this video's length, but if you guys are already at this stage, then you're probably interested in the intricate details, right? So there is a lot to cover with ore processing, so I thought I'd be thorough. Yeah, so I showed you the ore dictionary filter on the centrifuge for dust impure and dust pure. The thing is though, not every dust pure and dust impure has to go through the centrifuge. I did say that earlier on, but yeah, we don't want to necessarily send impure stone dust, because that is a 39-second recipe for stone dust. Like, we don't want to clog up the machine with that, right? So we want to send everything except stone dust and a couple of other edge cases like netherrack. The problem is though that this ore dictionary filter can only handle so many characters. There is the limit. Oh wait, there's a few more, but it's not enough when I tested to filter out several dusts. There's a limit to how much you can put in this, right? And if you have the card in here, you cannot filter this with any items. This is locked. These slots are locked. So we need an additional way to blacklist before it hits the interface, but also not interfere with what we have whitelisted here. I know this is a long explanation, just bear with me. So do you guys remember I said about the interaction between the storage bus and the interface? It does not accept anything in the interface if it doesn't have a valid storage location. Well, I realized we could just add a blacklist to this storage bus in the centrifuge side. So for every other machine, we leave these storage buses blank, but in the case of the centrifuge, we want to blacklist certain items. And here we can blacklist the stone dust, the netherrack, sodalite, sulfur, and lazurite. Very important that we add an inverter card though, This takes it from a whitelist to blacklist. And then also in the simple washer, we can add an extra storage bus and whitelist those items, since we still have to process them, right? Otherwise they're going to end up in overflow. And we don't necessarily want to trash stone dust, or sodalite dust for that matter, or sulfur. We don't want to trash the impure piles. So this is the reason why we have the simple washers. I don't think I explained why we have both the ore washer and the simple washer, but the simple washer does not give any byproducts, no matter what. The simple washer is just a super duper fast way of washing impure or pure piles into regular dust. And doing it that way frees up space for the centrifuge, which is going to be very busy with all the rest of the things it has to process. And then one more thing about the outbound storage. I did add lepidolite to this storage bus, but I realized we can just add an extra ore dictionary filter to the export side, the outbound. And this one is set to all dust, which is not impure or pure, since that has to be washed or centrifuged before it converts to regular dust. If you guys have played Nomi Factory, or yeah, I think it's only in Nomi Factory, there is a ore dictionary tag called Dust Regular, and that does not exist in this version, right? No. Whereas if you search just dust, this also contains impure piles. Yeah, not everything is shown in NEI, but it does contain also impure, since it has the dust tag, the dust prefix on there. So if you use just dust, it's going to filter the impures as well. So you have to add the not impure and not pure. And then we also filter in gems here, and that accounts for things like diamond and emerald. And then also like all of the Gregtech gems like tanzanite. So we still have lots and lots of filters to set, although I suspect, I mean, a lot of these are the same items mixed in different chests. They're not in any particular order. So it's probably going to go faster than you might think. I also upgraded the conveyor here. This is super fast. It's now IV. Oh, and it turns out we already had somewhere for that to go. We don't have somewhere for purified scheelite though. Either that or the buffer is full. The biggest thing I've noticed though is that we need more processing speed on the macerators. Item movement is pretty much instant because of applied energistics. Like, this is a very performant way to move items around using storage buses. And when you really think about it, this is just fancy item cable. Like 3, did you really have to overcomplicate things this much? No, but also yeah. This is so much more fun doing it this way, right? And it's more performant on the server as well. Reduces some lag. But yeah, who doesn't love an over-engineered process like this? Because I certainly do. But there is one more thing I'd like to do this episode, and that is about our benzene, about our fuel situation. So you're probably curious how this is affecting our power, and it's not good. It's oh no, I didn't want to do that. No. I forgot to color this. Let's empty this back out. But the way we have this right now cannot support our gas turbines, so we are going to have to upgrade this. For now though, we're going to send it all into an ender tank, which we got from the loot bag last episode. And we will connect this up to the main fluid storage tank. And the fluid storage system is sent to the turbines. However, with that, I think this is also a good point to wrap up the episode. We still have lots of development left in ore processing, but this is a good start and will give us resources to work on other projects. We do need to I'm going to take care of these bats though. These bats everywhere. I think it's because the lighting is not... Yeah, if we turn the lights out here, there is a big difference. But that looks pretty cool, right? Anyways, that is going to be it for this mega ore processing episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next episode of New Horizons.